Anyway, what I meant to say is I just did what I did deliberately. I, uh, I'm one person. I'm not an attorney. I don't know all of the Vermont statutes or New York statutes or Missouri statutes or all of that. So there's no, and I don't have time to go file complaints and do all the paperwork and put the overwhelming amount of evidence. The evidence alone is so overwhelming to type it all up. It would take weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't have time for that. The cancer's too far advanced. That's why I did this. That's why I went after it. Once I learned about the bioweapon, I wrapped it up, went for the jugular, got him to admit, we went out of our way to help you. You went out of your way to advocate for me. Oh, but you're getting defensive, and now you're filing, doing false, malicious no trespass based on crap about a structure. Never mind, you ain't going after the son of a bitch that was out there. A whole lot of son bitches that are out there hunting illegally, and you can see it because of your surveillance. The asshole I had to call the police on that other hikers asked me because they didn't have their phone, said, please call the police, we don't have our phone, because he was out there firing shots right at the trail, right near the preschool. Did you issue him a no trespass? Bet you didn't. Not that I think the school should get a no trespass for their shelters. There's already signs that says this is an open space. How do you want to utilize it? So the fact that I'm terminally ill makes it malicious, but my point is, I had to go for the jugular, number one, for the bioweapon and for everybody's safety. But I wrapped it up and went after them and rattled their cages to get them to prove and implicate themselves as impersonating victims' advocates, is what they are basically saying. We went out our way to help you. I tried to be your friend. You tried to be my advocate, and you're claiming you work for Sarah George and Bernie Sanders and Mulvaney Stanek. So you were impersonating victims' advocates from Sarah George, and Cousie's investigating, so you were also impersonating victims' advocates from Cousie. And thus the Sheriff's Department and the State Patrol. And then, but specifically, just to give an example, since they implicated Sarah George with all their threats and their honeypot and their sexual, don't forget, they're working with the guy who was jerking off around my tent. They're working with a whole lot of other people that ran honeypots and got sexually abusive, both here in Vermont, New York, Missouri, Arizona, and Florida. So basically, I gave the defense attorneys for Sarah George, since they are basically accusing her of Brady violations, evidence tampering, capital homicide, yada, 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 and basically implicating Bernie Sanders and Mulvaney Stanek. I mean, if I were to file complaints, if they legitimately worked for Sanders or Mulvaney Stanek, they could be forced to resign. I don't know if Mulvaney Stanek has a license to practice law or not, but this could potentially force all of them to resign and Sarah George to lose her license to practice law and face all kinds of sanctions and lawsuits and civil lawsuits and criminal actions and whatever. And I did that on purpose. And these are cops and lawyers. They should know better. I told them all along, I'm setting you up, I'm baiting you. We're using you. They're using me as bait. Didn't listen, did it anyway. So they're not going to claim entrapment. But anyway, Sarah George's personal defense attorney or whoever, I don't know, I would imagine it would be her. Since they're implicating her in crimes, she should have her own criminal defense attorney. And I think when you're an attorney, you have another attorney who represents you specifically on issues of your license to practice law. Right? So that gives both those lawyers, or whether it's both the same or different, whether it's one person or two different people, or whether she's only got one, I don't know. One or the other, I don't know. That gives them just cause to start filing complaints with the Vermont judiciary against the judge, or an inquiry. Notify Vermont Judicial Oversight, hey, this judge just did this restraining order on behalf of somebody claiming to work for my office. Please, we need to have a hearing. Emmett Wood just did a no trespass based on people claiming to work for Mulvaney Stanek. And I don't think it was a coincidence. I know they're saying no trespass, but they also had that other note they put out there, and Becky Burrell was trying to threaten me, saying, oh, don't call police on it because they'll tear up your camp. And then what are they doing? Tearing up my camp. So Becky Burrell claimed, her and her friend claimed to work for Sarah George. So it's all tied together. So you notify the attorney oversight, judiciary, whoever does oversight on the attorneys, that Emmett Wood is implicated in Brady violations, and let him respond. If he gets mealy-mouthed and stupid and defensive, and same with Judge Freitz, you know they're guilty. If they start demanding heads on platters and they want everybody locked up who put their licenses at risk, then you know they're on the up and up. You don't need me to go into the courtroom and say, oh, she works for Sarah George, and then see how the judge responds. You don't need me to do it. Your lawyers, Sarah George's lawyers and Bernie's lawyers and Mulvaney Stanek's lawyers, can do that a whole lot better, along with whoever works at Vermont Judiciary. And maybe the Attorney General's office, I don't know. Whoever, not to mention all the cops who are licensed peace officers, all the doctors that Autumn Caton's working for, and Becky Burrow works for, and Michael, and all Bill Kinnear, and all the rest of them. You can file complaints against the social workers, all the defense attorneys, not just in Vermont, but in New York, Florida, Arizona, and then they'll roll on all the rest of them. They'll roll on all of them nationwide. And I didn't really get that clarified in the last video, so I wanted to, I just handed you a prodigious tool to nail the whole freaking nexus. And you all should have the time and the resources to do it. I can't do it when I'm battling stage 4 cancer, the weather, trying to survive, and then them threatening to shut down my camp and lure me into a courtroom to whatever. There's no reason for me to die. There's no reason for any more raccoons to die. I just handed you the whole freaking criminal organization on a silver platter and gave you jurisdiction to do it. Knock the first domino down right here in Vermont, and Governor Hochul to deal with whatever licensed professionals and clinics that are licensed in New York. Her people can go after UVM because they're behind this shit. And their doctors are licensed in the state of New York. They're contracted with New York Medicaid, and they're licensed with New York's hospital and clinics as to open their doors to even have hospitals in New York. Plus, Governor Scott can go, and his people can go after licensed clinical social workers and the police and whatever. And then they'll roll on Beauvais, Bailey, Blanche, Bondi, Keg's Breath. You got the whole kit caboodle right there. You don't need me anymore. I mean, I'll testify, you bet. You bet. Yeah, I got my hands full. Would I like a hotel room? You bet. I'd like somebody to get me a hotel room or apartment or something, and I'll start moving my crap the hell out of there. Doesn't mean I'm not going to have bushcraft shelters there. They don't give a shit if there's other bushcraft shelters there. They ain't moving. They're not going to no trespass me out of that park. Anybody lets that shit stand, I'm the fuck out of here and y'all are on your own. My dad and I will just blow the whole fucking shit up down there. Because when you put me at risk, you put him at risk, and my job is to survive, evade, resist, escape, and get my evidence back to him and have secure comms. And he's going to yell, and oh, she's this and she's that, so that I'm not killed and he's not killed, and it gives me a chance. As long as they think he's going to kill me once I get there, they'll leave us both alone. And then once I get there, they'll realize, and then when we go public, then they realize Dad was running game on them too. Where do you think I learned all this shit from?